Kaneki from Tokyo Ghoul is one of my favorite characters in anime because I'm a giant weeb to the point where I've actually got a tattoo of him on my leg. And it's also a character that I think you would generally struggle to make in D&D outside of a new class that we just got, courtesy of Ghostfire Gaming. So I thought it best to put that to the test and make him. Hello, my name is Jason. This is the Dungeon Himber, my channel where I do third-party builds, normal builds, mostly third-party builds, third-party reviews, and all sorts of other stuff. If any of that sounds good to you, then go ahead and drop a subscribe. I am chasing 2,000 subscribers at the time of recording this, although I don't know when this one's going out, so it's very possible I've gone past that, in which case I'm chasing 3,000 subscribers, and I'm very excited to get there. You can also hop into the Discord if you want to discuss this kind of stuff, which is in the description. With that out of the way, let's talk about Kaneki a little bit more. Kaneki is the main protagonist from the Tokyo Ghoul series and was originally just a student studying Japanese at a university before he went on a date with someone and got nearly crushed to death and ended up with some of her organs inside of him, turning into a half, which is a very odd state of affairs in a world filled with one or the other. He then had it pretty rough by getting captured and tortured by someone called Jason, not me. Just so we're clear. Eventually lost his memories and all sorts of other stuff. He wields incredible power using not only his superhuman strength, but also an array of different transformations, with a lot of them being centipede themed. The question is, how do we make all of or any of that work in D&D? Well, I'm glad you asked. The first thing we need is a good background, and the best background for Kaneki, depending on how committed you are to the bit, I guess, is experiment, because he is. He's the first one. He's the first half ghoul, so it makes perfect sense to me. This gives you intimidation and medicine, and also proficiency with alchemist supplies, and it gives you the altered feat. We want the altered feat because we want a decent way of gaining natural weapons, which is the version of this feat that we'll be taking. Gives us a 1d8 unarmed strike, just straight out the bat, which fits Ken's general attack style. We also get to put our stats anywhere because the Crooked Moon books are just built different. We're going to put our +1 into charisma and our +2 into strength. While I don't view Ken as being an especially charming character, I do think he is an undoubtedly intimidating one, certainly in the latter half of the series, so I think it's a good fit. He is a human, despite not being human now, so he was human, so we're starting as human. We're going to go with the medium version. Obviously you get 30 feet, you get a heroic inspiration or long rest, which is always nice. You get a skill proficiency of your choice. I've gone for stealth here, and you get an origin feat of your choice as well. I've gone for tough so that we get more hit points. He is tough, so it makes sense, and it's also just a good choice. Our stats to begin with are 17 in strength, 10 in dex, 14 in con, which is a little rough, 8 in intelligence, 8 in wisdom, and 16 in charisma. You could certainly drop the dex down to 8 and go up to 15 for con if you would like to, but I like having a little bit of dex on a character like this. I think it fits. So for our class, we are going 1 to 20 with a brand new Kindred. While this is intended to be a vampire class, it's quite fitting for a bunch of different monstrous beings. Those are the monster inside of them. There are obviously weaknesses where it's not necessarily going to fit perfectly. Weakness to the sunlight, for example, or the wooden stake thing. But if the character can regenerate from stuff anyway, it's not a bad fit, I don't think. We do get a lot at level 1 as a Kindred. We get 2 proficiencies. I've gone for athletics and persuasion here. We get the ability to feed, which basically means that there are a bunch of circumstances in which we can bite someone, with grappled being the one that we will be focusing on today, and we get a number of dice to feed on creatures as we go. If we roll a 6 on a dice, we get in a blood point back, and you get 1 blood point for each 6 you roll. I asked Ghostfire Games on their YouTube channel, and they clarified, which I appreciated. You also get the Beast ability, which allows you to gain advantage on all the 20 tests until the start of your next turn, a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per short or long rest. But if you fail any test during that time, you go a little wild and have to try and eat someone. You also get blood points, which allows you to fuel all sorts of things, as well as gain some health, and you need them to ignore hunger as well as to gain long rests. Finally, we get a bunch of pros and cons, dark vision being some of them. We have to eat blood, which is actually perfect for Kaneki because he has to eat meat, basically, human meat. Gain damage. We get damage at the start of our turn in sunlight. We also have vulnerability to both fire and radiant damage, which again isn't perfect, but isn't the end of the world either. And a few other things like automatically succeeding on death saving throws, which I really like to represent the idea of a character who's just constantly regenerating. I like that. Level 2, we get our first Kindred feat. I have taken the Daywalker feat. This reduces damage from sunlight by 2, which means that we only take 6 damage instead of 10 damage because of the vulnerability to radiance. But we can also, as a bonus action, expend a blood point to remove our vulnerability to radiant damage 2, which is really, really cool. We also are just a lot better at resting. You need a blood point in order to gain a long rest, whereas with this one, you just have to make a DC 12 con save. While our con saves aren't great, that's not that hard to manage, so it's good stuff. Level 3, we get our subclass, and I am going for the Lus, which is the dark and edgy one, that the Masters of Shadows. And while that might not fit perfectly with the Tokyo Ghoul himself, the one-eyed king, it does work fairly well because a lot of the fights are at night, for starters, and there's a lot of tentacles in this subclass, which is a good fit. It does mean that if we roll a 1 on a d20, we get advantage on the next d20 test we make within a minute. Disadvantage? I did say that right. But it's not the end of the world. We also get better dark vision, and actually with the ability to see in magical and non-magical sight, as well as advantage on our stealth checks, and we can hide as a bonus action, which is a nice little boost. Level 14, because we want to be grappling and when using unarmed strikes, we're going to take the grappler feat. This lets us boost our strength to 18, which is obviously what we're going to do, and if we hit a creature, we can both damage and grapple at the same time. We also have advantage on attack rolls against creatures that are grappled by us, and we can move them around as well, giving us a nice way to move enemies around if needed. Level 5, we get the Bestial Fury ability, which allows us to roll our damage roll twice, which is fine, but we also can attack twice if we are in our The Beast state. This is a bonus action to activate the beast, and it only lasts until your next turn, as I said earlier, which means that we have to constantly spend our bonus action for this. It's a nice thing to do if you whiff your first, but it's not ideal otherwise. Also, you have to talk to your DM then if you're allowed to use it as a bonus action to get your second attack, because the rules are wibbly there. You're not meant to be able to gain an extra attack magically. You also get the ability to feed as a bonus action, which is our intended bonus action. We want to be chomping down on people because it's a good way to not only keep blood coming in, but also very strong damage-wise. As long as the creature's grappled, we can just do this. There's no saving throw for them. If they're grappled, we get to chomp. So it's quite strong. While Kaneki is a little against eating normal people, he does eat ghouls in the show, which means that we can chomp down on monsters and stuff, in my opinion. Our general play here is going to be attacking with advantage, using Heroic Inspiration the first time, and then because they're grappled from then on, and as our bonus action, we're going to bite someone, which gives us a damage average against an AC of 15 of 20.3, which is respectable for only using one attack most of the time. This will go up quite quickly, though. Speaking of things that go up quite quickly, that's a stretch. I want to thank my YouTube members and patrons. You all help support me and fund the money I put into this very silly channel and hobby, and I appreciate that greatly. If you want to join, you can. There's a little Discord member group area, nailing this, and also some cool stuff on Patreon like campaign diaries as well. So back to the video. Level 6, we get Shadow Mastery, which allows us to expend blood points to cast the Black Tentacles spell, although it's modified to do bludgeoning and cold damage. This is a great way to represent his tentacle attacks in the actual universe. I can't remember what they're called. Kaku, that might be Busering. It's fine. Tentacles, you get it. It's nice to have the option to do this. Our charisma is not as good as our strength. We're mostly going as a melee build, but it's still nice to have this kind of stuff. We also get darkness. Darkness is good. Level 7, we get another Kindred feat. I am going for Lethal Body. This lets us deal an extra 1d8 extra damage when we hit a target with an unarmed strike, and creatures gain disadvantage on ability checks and saving throws to escape our grapple, which means we're very good at holding on to them, which is amazing. It also literally doubles the dice we're rolling for our unarmed strikes here, so very hard to argue with. As we are continuing on with the grapple theme, at level 8, I am going to suggest Street Justice. This takes our strength up to 19, and it gives our allies advantage on creatures we have grappled as well. We can also tie people up a little bit better, which is useful. And if we are trying to intimidate someone, the fact that they're hostile does not matter, which is nice, makes intimidating very effective. Level 9, we get Force of Will, which allows us to use a blood point to cast the Suggestion spell. Don't ask me how that fits. We can also make creatures sleepy. Don't ask me how that fits either. Level 10, we get our next Kindred feat. I am going for the Discipline Acquisition Protean, which allows us to deal an extra 1d6 slashing damage on our unarmed strikes, which means that we're now doing 2d8, 1d6, and plus 4 at the moment, which is quite a respectable amount of dice for one hit. We are now better off attacking twice instead of doing the bite, but you do have the options to either as and when you need to, basically. Assuming we're hitting twice, we're going to be doing 30.16 damage, which is a 50% increase over the level 5 one. Not as high as I'd like, but don't worry, we do continue to go up. Mostly because at level 11 we get Abyssal Strength. Abyssal Strength allows us to, as a bonus action, spend 2 blood points to increase our strength by our proficiency bonus for a minute. Our proficiency bonus went up to 4 at level 9. This gives us an extra 4 strength, which is an extra 2, a +2 to our hit, a +2 to our damage as well. It's great. I really like it. I don't know what to say about it. It's cool. At level 12, I'm going to take Sentinel. Ken's a relatively protective dude over his friends, so it's a nice fit. And it also lets us get our strength to 20, which is good, which means that our strength will now be 24 when we're boosting it with our proficiency bonus. And if a creature within 5 feet of us disengages or tries to hit someone other than you, or hits someone other than you, you can lay the beat down on them. I'm not including the opportunity attack, even though the chances are it's fairly reliable, because I have found it is with the Sentinel feat. So the damage numbers from here on out are probably underselling it. Level 13, I'm going to take the Greater Discipline acquisition for the Protean. This allows us to, as a bonus action, spend 2d6, 2 blood points to give our unarmed strikes an extra 2d6 damage for a minute. We now have 2 setup rounds, right? So we want to use our first turn to probably boost our strength to make our hits that much harder to avoid, and also our checks better in general for the athletic checks for the grapples and stuff. And then our second turn, we want to use the 2 blood points to deal 2d6 extra slashing, and on the third turn we can start attacking twice or biting if we want to. It's all good fun. Level 14, we get Efficient Feeding, which allows us to re-roll our feed dice, which means that we're just better at getting blood, which is useful. And at level 15, we get Crush Weakness. This allows us to use a reaction when a creature within 30 feet of us fails an ability check or saving throw to deal 4d8 psychic damage to them. It costs 2 blood points. Ideally, we're using our reaction on Sentinel, but it's a cool thing to have. It also means we're on our next damage check-in, and at this point, assuming we are spending 2 turns of setup and then attacking twice, we will be doing 52.03 points of damage on average, which is still solid, but we are going to go substantially higher as we go on. Really want to multi-class this with a monk. I didn't because I really like the capstone feats for this class, but man, that's tempting, right? Flurry of blows with all of these extra dice would just be so good, alas. Anyway, level 16, I'm going to suggest boosting our con to 16. It's very numerically satisfying, but also probably wise. Level 17, we get another Kindred feat. I'm going to recommend taking the Discipline Acquisition Potence, which allows us to add our proficiency bonus to any melee attacks we make as part of our action on our turn, which is free damage, basically. Hard to argue with. Level 18, speaking of free damage, we get Tenebrous Form. This allows us to take a magic action and spend 5 blood points to assume a special form where we not only get a +4 bonus to our AC, but we also get 4d10 temporary hit points. We get the ability to spend an additional blood point to extend the form by another minute, so if the fight goes on really long, it's not an issue. We get advantage on strength and con checks and saving throws, and we get the ability to teleport if we want to darkness, but most importantly, it gives us a flat 2d10 boost to our melee attacks, as well as better range, which you can definitely flavour as being his special tentacle attacks. I really should have memorised the name of them. I don't know what's wrong with my brain. I mean, I do know what's wrong with my brain, but we're not going for that. Also, we can grapple creatures if they are huge or smaller, which is very cool. Just makes us a lot more consistent. And again, so many dice. Level 19, I'm going to choose the Boon of Generations. This is the Kindred specific one from the Bound by Blood book. Gives us the ability to increase an ability by 1. It lets us re-roll our feed dice if they roll a 1, which makes us even better at getting blood, and it increases our blood point total. You can take what you want. I just wanted to show this one off in a build. And then level 20, we get Ancient Awakening. This lets us boost 4 stats by 2. We get to choose which ones, but it can't be the same one twice. I've gone for Strength, Con, Dexterity, and Charisma. This gives us when boosted, a Strength score of 28, which makes us very good at hitting things, and it also gives us a total damage with all of the dice we're doing of 91.26 in our 2 attacks. There is 2 rounds of setup for that, but I think that's a small price to pay, and realistically, even if you only do the 1 round of setup where you're doing the Tenebrous Form and then either the boosted strength or the extra damage, the 2d6 extra damage, it's still going to be pumping out some pretty respectable damage. And as always, this is not including any magic items or anything else. Plus, you have advantage on any one of your attacks, and so do all of your friends. So it's a sturdy build, and I had a lot of fun putting this together, actually. The Kindred is complex because of all the moving parts. There are a lot of downsides, but I really like it, having done a full build with it. there's a lot of fun stuff you can do with this, and the Kindred feats make it incredibly flexible. There's a lot you could do with this, so I will probably be returning to it for some other builds in the future. But that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you're doing well and that you continue to do well. You have a good week ahead of you, and I hope that you take care of yourself. Do feel free to check out some of my other videos if you would like to do so. I do a lot of this nonsense, where nonsense is YouTube, and I will see you whenever it is I next see you. Take care of yourself. Goodbye.